We are living through a slightly dangerous period in the development of both hardware and software, in which more and more of the crucial decisions are being made by amateurs. Software is being produced by amateurs. It's being reviewed, evaluated, and endorsed here on YouTube by amateurs, very often by people who themselves aspire to one day be at the helm of a fan-made software project of the kind. And often enough, even the hardware, like ye olde Evercade versus visible in the background there, is to some extent amateur rather than professional. Look, I gotta tell you this. With a game as simple as Tetris, it is possible for a fan-made version to be better than the real thing. It's possible for a group of fans of a very simple classic game to engage in a remake, and there may be no harm in enthusiasts coming on the internet and celebrating it and adulate it, especially when you're talking about a game that's being distributed for free, open source, or as a download that costs next to nothing on an app store, on an eShop. The problem we're getting into with Astebros, with Demons of Astebros, is the blurring of the line between amateur and professional, and not just with the team making the product itself. You know, a mediocre cartridge came out for the Evercade some time ago, and I did not buy it. I'm not an owner of this cartridge. The Jalico Arcade Collection, Volume 1. Many people said, hey, this is kind of mediocre. There are no really great games on here that defined the era, defined the epoch, bring back memories of your 21st birthday or anything like that. Yeah. Guess what? Each and every one of the games on that Jalico Arcade cartridge represents a standard of excellence and a standard of professionalism that the team behind Astebros has not achieved, and I will go so far as to say they never will achieve in their lives. And nobody wants to be the asshole making the YouTube video that says that to you. Nobody wants to make a YouTube video saying, you must be fucking insane if you think a couple of hobbyists can create a Sega Genesis cartridge that performs at this level and competes for about $30 coming out of your wallet in the 21st century. Just full disclosure, this cost me $33 Canadian, all told, wherever you are. It may cost you, including shipping, including taxes, $25 US. I really don't think it's true right now that much of anyone is getting this for $20 flat, nor for 25 Canadian or what have you. Regardless, the cost is significant. We're not talking about an open source project that's free to download. We're not talking about shareware. We're not talking about $3.99 on the eShop or $5.99 on the App Store. We're really not. In my case, this was $33 for 2 games on a so-called cartridge that's not really a cartridge. It's really like a USB stick. It's rewritable media, right? And it causes the system to crash on save and load. Amateur mistake. Not something you get with professional software running on professional hardware. And there are input errors where the whole thing glitches out. It happens about 10 times more frequently with 2 players plugged in simultaneously, I notice. So, for example, you hit start, and then it just, from the software's perspective, it just keeps on receiving a running left input. or a pressing down input, and it doesn't stop. Like you press start, you unpress start, and it's misinterpreting the inputs. This can also happen in the middle of action. Okay, so do we want to take the role of celebrating the work of amateurs? Do we want to be amateurs ourselves, uncritically adulating, uncritically celebrating what other amateurs have done? Or do we want to get real and draw a line and talk about having consistent standards? If this game had been produced by Sega, every single one of you would say it sucks. Okay? Sega works with all kinds of small independent software developer companies, especially for nostalgia-driven retro projects. They work with a much smaller software house to make Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap, remix, remake, whatever you want to call it. A beautiful hand-drawn animation. They worked with a relatively small software development house to make Streets of Rage 4. Again, beautiful hand-drawn animation. Terrible gameplay. But professional, highly professional software. And those projects all deserve to be criticized in their turn. I mean, I would say the original Master System game is better than the Wonder Boy 4 remake. I would say, without digressing, to make this a critique of Streets of Rage 4. Okay, but the level of professionalism, the level of excellence represented by Streets of Rage 4, which will cost you a lot less than $33 Canadian, a lot less than 25 US dollars, all kinds of different formats, all right? That is a standard, that is a level the creators of Astebros, Demons of Astebros, they have utterly failed to achieve with this game. Okay? The music is poor. The graphics are poor. The gameplay is poor. The whole game is in poor taste. It's poor stylistically. And I can't evaluate it like Tetris. I mean, a couple of fans of Tetris, maybe in 1 week, if they've got the skills, can put together a great version of Tetris that's better than a professionally made version. You know what? An in-depth, two-player simultaneous roguelike game with, arcade elements, it's very, very hard. It's very, very ambitious. It's more ambitious than a remake of Streets of Rage. How is the art form supposed to progress? If you and I here on YouTube, if we can't be honest about this, I paid $33 for Astebros and I sent it back to get a refund. And when I filled out the form, I justified that request of the refund with the errors in programming that cause it to crash, the bugs that cause it to misbehave. And I'm relieved. I'm relieved that I have that excuse to get that refund. I don't expect perfection. I don't expect every product to be made to my taste. I don't expect this to be better than Toe Jam and Earl, which actually is the same genre. Two-player simultaneous roguelike, randomly generated elements, different map every level, different map every time you play, with arcade action elements. It's exactly the same. I mean, it should be compared to Toe Jam and Earl. I'm not saying it has to be better than Toe Jam and Earl. I don't expect perfection. What I expect is professionalism. And with a project like this thrown together by amateurs, I'm not going to get it.